Well, it was a little bit different than that. So what happened, obviously, I came out of college at the University of Houston. I got moved to slot receiver my senior year, and it was really hard for me because I was a true running back. But unfortunately, I got caught up in the run and shoot offense, and the guys came in, and Chuck Witherspoon, by the way, was a great running back.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of natural for me. Well, it wasn't natural because I've never caught the ball besides screen and stuff out the backfield. However, I got moved to slot that year, caught 115 catches and stuff like that. So with that said, I get, go in undrafted to the Pittsburgh Steelers and go up there and, had a great camp for the most part. But they had some guys back then. It wasn't no free agency or anything like that. Is you got
Right.
traded or you got cut, one of the two.
Right.
So, the final cut, Coach Noel came in and told me that he think I'm a great player, but right now it's just not the place for me to be, and so he's gonna have to release me, and it went that way. However, I set out a whole year though. It wasn't right then and there. I came into the Chiefs in 1991, so that whole year I came back home to Galveston, Texas, and one of my best friends, Pepper Jr. I was first couple of days I was at the house like you know.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on? What I'm gonna do with my life? And a couple of weeks went by and I didn't work out anything. So we started working out again. About 3 months later, 4 months later probably, the mailman came by my house and said, "Hey, Kimble, I know a guy in Kansas City. Would you be willing to go work out? This is in the off season by then. Will you be willing to go work out and things like that?" And I looked at him, I was like, yeah, but I didn't know, if he had any validity to that or whatever.
Right.
3 days later, I get a call from the Chiefs and went up there and I worked out and stayed there for 10 years. So it
Wow.
worked. Yeah, yeah. So it was like one of those deals you just never know.
Right.
Life give you so many different curveballs.
So when did you go to Kansas City? Was it in March, April?
It was it was in the spring. It was in the off season. It was when they first started they mini camps and OTAs and all the stuff they was doing in
Okay.
1990. Yeah.
So
Yeah, man.
you're just trying to make the team, and
Yeah, just trying to. Yeah.
the Chiefs just came off having Christian Okoye in 1990, Barry Word, Todd McNair, and Billy Jones. Then they draft LSU superstar in the first round in Harvey Williams, and now they also added, if you remember, Stump Mitchell.
Oh yeah.
As a running back.
Can you remember stuff?
I talk to stuff every now and then.
Yeah. Oh, hey, old man stuff. I remember when he played for the Cardinals, bro. I was like, this. I used to watch him when I was a little kid. So
That's what I said.
So you looked at that running back room, and I'm sure there's some names I'm forgetting besides Okoye, Word, Billy Jones, Todd McNair, Stump Mitchell, and the first
James
round.
Saxon.
James Saxon. Oh, hey, old man James Saxon too.
Old man. Yeah.
So when you got here and you saw the room and you saw this kid and Harvey Williams, what did you feel like your competition was going to be to make the team in 1991?
I know it's gonna be tough. The one thing though, I will say, you never when you're in a room at that level, the guys there for a reason. You know what I mean? And they all have some skill set. So I was just really trying to work hard as I can to find my skill set and what I can bring to the team. And Harvey can tell you this: I never feared anything.
Never did.
I thrive off of competition. So that's just part of my whole journey of my life. That the one thing, even from a little league kid, like when I grew up in Galveston, Texas, we go outside and play basketball. I'm in the 8th grade. We played against 25-year-old, 30-year-old guys. So we never looked at that as a threat. So I learned some good life lessons, So that's the way I took the approach in everything I do, even today.
Bro, I'm gonna say this. When I was in high school, man, because we played on Friday nights, man, and I was like, the number one, number two running back in the country. But Saturday mornings, first thing I would go and get the newspapers and look at the stats of the guys that was in my area, and that's the first time I started seeing your name, Kimble Anders from Galveston Ball. So you had been on my radar for a long ass time, and like I said when I first got to Kansas City, man. Running backs are like horses, the thoroughbreds. I don't know if you ever been around thoroughbreds, but when they get around other, race horses, they like athletes. They checking each other out and measuring themselves. And Christian Okoye and Barry Word, I went through the checklist. I'm like, can't catch, run too still. But when I got the Kimble, I'm like, man, this dude got the same skill set that I have. And I don't know if you remember, Kimble, you taught me how to pass block, bro. So I'm sitting, watching how you would pass block and go in there and stick your head in there. And I'm talking about Shaggy. When I'm talking about Kimble will tell you when most people when they pass block, the guy goes, you get hit, and then the guy goes around you. Kimble was stoning people, man, like a stalemate. And Kimble's bottom half is almost, like my bottom half with thick, at the bottom, big ass legs, big hips, very flexible in the hips. And you heard what he said. They put him in the slot. Same thing when I was at LSU. They put me in the slot, put me a wide receiver in the backfield. And we went down the check. I went down my little check box in my head, man. And Kimble matched me on everything, bro. So, every day, if you think about it, I don't think ever in history it has ever been a football team with that many talented running backs on one team, man. And like I said earlier in previous shows, man, that room, all those guys that was in that room, man, could have went somewhere else in the National Football League and starred and been superstars in those franchises. And Kimble was one of them, man.
Yeah, and with that said, Harvey, so in that room, what I felt the camaraderie we had amongst each other, like the brotherhood was there. The one thing I do miss about football now is having that brotherhood. Like even right now today, me and Harvey ain't talked in years, but we're still brothers though. No matter how they go. I mean, that's what the one thing I do trying to reiterate to the younger generation of the kids. Is this is your brotherhood for life? Football is life lessons. So just get ready for it. That's all it really is. It's teaching you so much about life. It ain't just about football, So hopefully a lot of the young guys understand that.
Check it. Let me tell you, so I live in a place called Northgate, man. I got a golf course right behind my house. So I'm like sitting. So the back half of my house is nothing but glass. So it's like almost live in a fishbowl, right? So I'm sitting in my living room and I'm looking out and I see this dude walk from we got like a little box where you go get snacks and stuff from there to the tee box. And I'm looking, I'm like, man, I know them ass and legs from, and the way he walked, I'm like, I know, man, that's Kimble, bro. And I walked outside and hey, we went crazy. I jumped the gate, went and we hugged him and I like, man, I know that ass from anybody. That's Kimble Anders right there, bro. That's my dude right there. So that's the last time me and Kimble saw each other, man. It's a funny story.
Hey, we've had Leonard Griffin, defensive end, on, and Kimble, you're the third person from the backfield. We had Todd McNair and Billy Jones on, and what they talked about, what they have talked about in the last couple of weeks is Harvey Williams wanted them to put. Marty Schottenheimer wanted the running backs to put weight on. Were you asked to put specific weight on, or was Marty happy with your weight that you came into the league in?
I was never asked that, to be honest. No, I don't recall Marty ever telling me that anyway. But I was so again, I think at that point I wasn't a big fullback, so I probably needed to put some weight on because Bill was 240.
Stop saying you were a fullback. You weren't no fullback, bro.
I was 215. Hey, I was 215. So you know what I mean? So
when you say fullback, I get mad because you wasn't a fullback, bro. You was a tailback, a running back that they made play fullback. When I first got to Kansas City, when I was at LSU, man, I was like 209, 210, quick as a cat, pretty, high stepping. The first thing I knew when I got there, he told me to gain 30 pounds, bro. So, that put a strain on my skill set, when I was in Kansas City. And when I got to the Raiders, Al Davis said, man, get back like you was in college. And I got back down to 205, 206.
Well, I could see that why he said that, because at that time he was used to the Marty ball and he was used to Christian Okoye, 240, 250, and two big guys running downhill full speed every play, but just vertically. They couldn't go.
Yeah, they couldn't do nothing.
They didn't have anything that you had in your toolbox. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he wanted similarity. If you know Marty, that's how he was. He wanted everything to stay the same.
Stay the same. Yep.
Well, I think I was looking forward to, because what I should have asked Billy Jones was, since you guys are all asked to gain weight, did you guys go out and eat buffets a lot together? Did you guys ever go out and eat together, Kimble, you and Harvey?
Oh yeah,
we hung out, man. We were brothers. Yeah, it was no not to cut you off, Kimble. It, like Kimble just said, man, it was a brotherhood. It was no, even though we all played the same position, it was, you know, Bruce Arians was a great coach, and he made it seem like, you know, we were all like blood brothers, and we stuck together, and you know, BA used to cuss a lot, and he said, you know, it's gonna start at the running backs, you know, we run this MF, this and that, and you know, everything is on our shoulders, and y'all got to set the tone. That's what, you know, he would say to all of us. But we all loved each other, and the great thing about this, and Kimble is sitting right here, we all rooted for each other.
Yeah,
we really did.
Definitely.
Yeah. And you could tell that as fans. You could tell how you know, from 1991, from really 90 through 93 or till 93, you could tell that you guys were all, you know, Marty would start with the game with Okoye, and if he wasn't hitting it off, he would go to Word. And then if it was the next week, Harvey Williams would be the starter. And, you know, it was so there was such, I mean, backs by popular demand was huge. And, you know, as is with Harvey and Okoye at Word. But Kimble, you know, your running style was so much, I mean, I won't call it a slasher, because you would glide. You would just glide. You had an ability to just glide to when you had the football, because you weren't leaving people in the dust, but man, you sure did make everybody miss.
Yeah.
So that's where you really excelled at. And you know, I like on the highlights I've been playing on social media this week, you know, the screen pass from Elvis Gerback in Carolina that you took 60 plus yards, you know, you followed your blockers who were downfield on that screen, and you would just glide down the field and make the plays. And it was just, it was just so amazing. What did you like better? Did you like catching passes, or did you like being the running back, Kimble?
Yeah, that's a tough question. So again, Harvey watched me in high school. In high school, you know, I lined up to be Eric Dickerson. That we ran the SMU offense. Hey, I emulated Eric Dickerson. That's all we did. I rushed for 1,952 yards, 28 touchdowns. We only played half of the game because we So we only played so. But I thought I was just a true running back. You know, unfortunately, you know, it changed once you, like I said, I went to the Houston with Veer offense, and Raymond Tate had some good running backs there at the time. Yeah. And, you know, like I say, unfortunately, when the system started switch coaches, now the West Coast offense was the run and shoot was the deal. And that just, you know, it helped me. It helped me develop my game overall, though. I will say that. But, you know, at the same time, it hindered some of my abilities to really be a true runner. So I look at it as I was just a football player, and whatever back it was going to be, whether third down back, you know, you start labeling us third down running back by committee.
Yeah, I hated that. Yeah,
you start coming back, he a third down back, he a fullback, so you don't know. But I just feel that I was a complete player, and I think that helped me in the long run to be more complete player. Which now in football, you have to be a complete running back to do everything. So it's one of the trends that probably was started with, you know, Keith Byers and Ronnie Harmon, the guys that I know I watched when I was coming up. That's once I got to the NFL, start studying the football, really taking time to reference the guys that I can be like, or reference guys that, you know, that you enjoy watching.
Hey man, let me ask you this. I played with a guy that you played with at the University of Houston, guy you just said Chuck Witherspoon. I played with him at the Senior Bowl. Now I've been around both of y'all, bro. There's no way that dude was he? Did y'all play at the same time, or he was the lead back? How did you should have been at the Senior Bowl? It should have been reversed. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, he had a good year. He came in. He came in from California my sophomore year, and he came to University of Houston. He had a great season. He was a bruiser. He was a straight. He was a short Christian Okoye, but he had so much flexibility. He had balance.
Yes, he did.
He would break tackles. His balance was amazing. So, you know, he lit it up. I mean, he lit it up. He rushed for 1,500 yards, and you know, so
wow.
You know, I think 2 years in a row. I mean, so. You know, you got my hats off to him, and he did what he needed to do, and he came in, and you know, that's why I had to take the back seat and catch some passes. So I caught 100. I caught 100.
Hey, guess what? That's why your name in Arrowhead. Exactly, bro.
Exactly.
Well, Kimble, what I always talk about is when especially with Harvey. 1993. It's the spring of 1993. Joe Pendry's gone. They bring in a new offensive coordinator and Paul Hackett. Now it's Kimble and Harvey in the backfield now. And now you know that with this new West Coast offense, it's going to be you and Harvey in the backfield. And then on top of that, they bring in the GOAT, Joe Montana. What was that like for you two? We're all spring and summer leading up to where, you know, player introductions, it was Kimble Anders, Harvey Williams, and Joe Montana. Just that whole spring and summer with you two together. And Harvey, I want you to talk about it as well. What was that like, learning that offense and just in the whole Joe Montana drama? What was that like?
Oh man, it truly was amazing because initially, obviously we watched Joe Montana growing up as well, and we seen the things he's capable of doing, and the way the West Coast offense was ran. I thought it was just a great fit for me, for sure, at the time. And what I appreciate about the West Coast offense when we learned it, it was so many tools. Like now, when you trying to coach kids, I know where we at Texas Southern University right now, and we coaching the offense, you don't have a lot of film on that. So we watched a lot of film. We learned so much so quick from the coaches that coached it at that level to be able to understand exactly what the system and how it works and the number system, everything. So the thing about at that level, you got to start understanding what your responsibilities are. And once you understand that, you can play faster. And so it gave me an opportunity to just understand the system and the way Joe Montana took approach to every meeting, everything he's done. It was on point. And the coaches, with Coach Jimmy Ray, just the coaching staff was like amazing teachers, you know what I mean? And they really gave us illustration on how to run this offense and how the schemes fit and make that much easier on you, and you can go just play football. So just that challenge and being able to be in the room with Joe and his presence, his calmness, and the things he did. He never really Harvey can agree with this. What we call a true pro. When you're a pro, and you just go out and do it. It is because it's a routine. It's something that you're supposed to do. It's not nothing. It's something that we depend on you to do. So that's one thing I had learned about being in the NFL. It's a different beast than playing college and high school football and things of that nature. So you learn how to play consistently, do things right, and that's one thing I think we did pretty well at times. We always had your mistakes here and there, but for the most part, we try to perfect our craft. Yeah,
he, like Kimble hit on every topic, man. When you say Joe Montana, you're talking about an icon, bro. So I was like, it was like, Jesus Christ was coming, the second coming of Jesus Christ when he first got there. I don't know if you remember, Kimble, when he first got there, man, the city went crazy, bro. And I'm like, I'm sitting in a restaurant eating, and then these women, I told Shaggy, I thought Godzilla was coming down. It was on the plaza, and people were screaming and hooping and hollering. And I was like, what is going on? Joe Montana is coming to Kansas City. And I'm like, oh shit. Sure. And then I became a fan, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm getting ready to see this dude in a couple of days. And they flew him in on a private jet, and I just had to go and showed up. It was like during the off season, bro. So I just went to the locker room I think I had a piece of chewing gum or something in my locker room just to be in there when he came in and got a chance to meet him and sat down with him. And he knew exactly who I was. And like Kimble said, man, me and him were starting in the backfield together. But, it was a great feeling to get a chance to, play with a guy that, to me, Elway and Marino was on that level. Then we get Joe Montana. And I thought that was the piece that was going to put us, over the top to win the Super Bowl that year. I really do. And then you forgot, and then Montana was out there not too much longer. Will Marcus came, and And Joe
Montana, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, makes his first appearance in Kansas City as a Chief before a sellout crowd of 77,700. The 37-year-old they hope will lead him to the Super Bowl.